All right, applications of quadratics. So word problems, basically. Luckily, since we are dealing with applications, I need you to show me the setup and the solution. That means you can do mode 5.3 all the way if you have Casio FX 5 ES Plus. If not, quadratic formula by hand, go for it. So on these, a lot of times it's going to be helpful to draw a picture. It says the width of a rectangle. So I'm going to draw a rectangle-ish kind of thing. The width is 6 meters less than its length. So I'll call this the length, and the width is 6 meters less than, so L minus 6. If the area is 112 square meters, find the dimensions. So that means find the length and the width. All right, so you are expected to know basic geometry formulas. How do you find the area of a rectangle or any parallelogram? Base times height. That must be it. Right angles. So multiply them together. L times L minus 6. That's the area, and the area is 112. Guess what? It's not in standard form. Put it that way, then you're good to go. Distributive property. Subtract 112 from both sides. And there we go. I've got my standard form of a quadratic. Take your calculator. Go to mode 5.3 and type in your coefficients. Again, if you do not have a calculator, sorry, that'll do this for you. Use a quadratic formula. We get 14 and -8. So let's interpret those results. So what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with a rectangle's length. Okay, so right there, you should automatically scream something at the TV or, well, monitor, whatever your monitor you're watching it on. We can't have a negative length. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So -8 is not one of our answers. What is the question? It's asking for the dimensions. That means both the length and the width. The length, well, that's 14. The width is length minus 6, so 14 minus 6, which is a +8. That won't always happen like that, so don't assume. Okay? Great practice for the ACT. They love doing that kind of thing. Then they might even have you say, what's the sum of the dimensions? And you add them together. And crap like that. All right, we've got a triangle now, so draw a freaky triangle. Actually, draw a bigger one. Yeah, perfect, Dorito. The base of a triangle is 7 less than twice its height. So remember, the height comes down to the perpendicular. 7 less than twice its height, so I'm gonna call it height H. And the base is 7 less than twice it. So twice of it minus 7. The area is 102. Well, area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Think about a triangle. It's half a rectangle. If it's a right triangle, obviously it's, anyway. So half the formula, half base times height. So 1/2 base times height is equal to 102. Now you can deal with the fractions or not, up to you. You can multiply both sides by 2 right now and get rid of the fraction. Whatever you got to do, it doesn't matter to me how you get it in standard form, just get it in standard form. So distributive property, I'm going to say it's H minus 7/2 times H. I just substituted that half here. And I'm going to move the 102 over in the next step, just because I don't want to do too much in that one step. Distribute the H. And now go ahead and subtract 102 from both sides. And I got it in standard form. So 1, negative 7 halves. Don't forget your signs. Those are very important. And negative 102. I get 12 and negative 17 halves. So let me write those down. And again, we're talking about dimensions, length, height. Can't be negative. So I have my height is 12. That's my answer. Moving on. Not read your question. It's asking for the length. Plug it in. On the previous one, both were your answer. On this one, just the length. 4 minus 7 is 17. And I guess we should be formal and put our units, centimeters. I will not count off for units. Okay, hypotenuse of a triangle. So we have a triangle, and more specifically, we have a right triangle. If it mentions hypotenuse, you know for a fact it's a right triangle. So draw a right triangle. The hypotenuse is 1 foot more than twice the length of the shorter leg. Okay, I'm gonna call this one short leg. Is it shorter? Maybe, I don't care. 1 foot more than twice. So 2 short leg plus 1. The longer leg is 7 feet longer than the shorter leg. Short leg plus 7. Find the dimensions. So it's a right triangle. What can we do with a right triangle? Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Make sure your hypotenuse is c. So this one's going to take a bit more than the others. S squared plus s plus 7 squared equals 2s plus 1 squared. Yes, I put it in parentheses on purpose. S squared obviously is just s squared. On these, you'll need to do the distributive property. Don't forget, square means multiply by itself. This is actually s plus 7 times s plus 7. S times s, s squared. 7s, 7s, 49 equals, again, square means multiply by itself. S is a terrible variable. Don't use S as a variable. Because I'm reading this as 25 right quick, and yeah, it's not 25, it's 2s. 2s times 2s is 4s squared plus 2s plus 2s plus 1. Do yourself a favor, combine like terms on both sides first. Don't even try to move anything around until after you have like terms combined. Let me see what I got. I got some s squareds here and here. I got some s's there and there. That's on my like terms. So I got 2s squared plus 14s plus 49 equals, over here, I got just these two s's put together. 4s squared plus 4s plus 1. It does not matter which side you make equal 0. Make one of them equal 0. I like getting everything to the left side. It's just personal preference. I am going to subtract 4s. In fact, I'm going to write it down because it's going to be a lot of things at once. I'm going to subtract 4s squared. So I misspoke a moment ago. If I do that, that's negative 2s squared. I'm going to subtract 4s. If I do that, I get a positive 10s. I'm going to subtract 1. I do that. After 48. If I subtract all those, I better get 0. Not my stuff somewhere. Now let's go ahead and throw it in the calculator. -2, 10, 48. And we get 8 and -3. Again, we have extraneous roots here because it's a real life problem. No such thing as a negative length. It says find the dimensions. Always, before you're done, when you think you've found your answer, go back and read your question. Find the dimensions, not the short side, all of them. So short, long, hypotenuse. Short is 8. We just found that. Add 7 to that, I get 15 for the long side. 16 plus 1 is 17. And there we go. And those are in who knows what units. Do we know? Feet. These are all in feet. Or, okay, so this is the exact same thing we've been doing. Just, I'm not gonna do this. Find the area of the shaded region is 59. Okay. Maybe I will do this. It tells me the area of the shaded region. ACT loves shaded region problems. So let's see. How can I represent the area of the shaded region? Well, it's the area of the whole dang thing minus the area of this little piece, huh? Yeah. So the area of the whole dang thing, length times width, base times height, whatever you want to call it. Base times height's more proper. Minus the area of the white piece. And that area, the area of the shaded region, is 59. Let's start there, do some distributive property, and then go back and figure out what we're trying to find. So that's going to be 2x squared minus x plus 12x minus 6. We've got a negative and an x times this thing, minus x squared minus 3x equals 59. Before we move anything, combine like terms. Just always, before you try and move things on the equations, combine like terms. I got x squareds here and there. I've got regular x's here, here, and here, and then I got a constant. Let's put it together. 2 minus 1 is x squared. Negative 1 plus 12 is 11. Minus 3 is 8. Use a calculator just to be safe. Minus 6, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract 59. Yeah, I'll just use a calculator. Have to jump back to mode 1 for a second. Negative 6 minus 59. Negative 65. Now, if you are doing these by hand, you'll most likely be able to factor them, use the AC shortcut. You can always try to discriminate and find out, but more often than not, we're not going to have irrational dimensions on these. That's just not the way we make the problems. So it's pretty safe to try and AC shortcut or factor these if you want. Quadratic form always works, for sure, no doubts. Where was I? Here, we got the quadratic in standard form. Mash your buttons. 1, 8, negative 65. 5 and negative 13. Obvious, right? It's 5. X is 5. Okay, found X. What's the question? What are the dimensions of the outside rectangle? So let's just shove it up here. Let's see, X is 5, so 5 plus 6 is 11, and 10 minus 1 is 9. There we go. Inches, if you will. Yes, this is inches squared because it's the area. We're multiplying these two things together. So each one of them has to be an inch. Inch times inch, inch squared. All right, one more, because we need to talk about consecutive. Find two consecutive, positive, odd integers. That's a lot of definitions right there. Consecutive, it's one after another. Odd, not divisible by 2. Integers, well, that's your nice numbers on your fingers. It's positive integers. Okay, it's greater than 0, positive. Well, let's think about some odd integers. Let's say 3. What's the next odd integer? 5. After that, 7, 9, 11. How do I get from one to the next? Yeah, 2. So let's call my first number n for number. Then my second number is going to be n plus 2. That's my first odd integer. That's my second odd integer. Well, what if the n is even? Then it's not answering the question. Why are you even asking? So if it has to be odd, it has to be odd. And if you get an answer that's not odd, well, the question's just bad, or who knows what happened. Probably did something wrong somewhere. So now let's read all this mumbo jumbo. The square of this smaller integer added to 3 times the larger integer is 24. Okay, the square of the smaller integer. Which one's smaller if it's positive? N or 2 more than n? Oh yeah, the one that's just n and not 2 more than n. Added to 3 times the larger integer. Added to 3 times the larger integer is 24. N squared, distributive property. I'm just going to be lazy. Going to go ahead and subtract that 24. Combine my like terms. N squared plus 3n minus 18 equals 0. Quadratic formula, or really easy to factor this. It's 6 and 3, positive 6, negative 3. So your answer is going to be negative 6 or a positive 3, which would obviously be a positive 3. It's just mode 5, 3, 1, 3, negative 18. But yeah, this seems really easy to factor. 3 and negative 6. So n is 3, or is it negative 6? Positive, and it's negative 6. Ain't working. So we're trying to do what? Go back. We found an answer. Is it the answer? I don't know, because we've done so much I don't remember what the question was. So let's go back and read the question. Find two consecutive, oh, so we got to find both of them. Okay, so one of them's 3. What's the next one? 5, because then it was a smaller one. So 3 and 5. Done. And that's it. We'll talk about projectile motion next time. That's a very specific kind of application. It's one of the main things in physics, kinematic equations, but we'll get there next time. See ya.